Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot today. I am so excited to talk to you, boys and girls, about training camp, day 2 of fans being at camp. Got a bunch of footage. I was not there today, but we got some good stuff coming in from Let's Talk Jets Radio. We saw Richie from Jets Media was tweeting up a storm. So if you want to check out all their feeds, make sure you check that stuff out. But I want to get to your questions. I also want to talk about some of the topics that I think are interesting surrounding the New York Jets, specifically today and over the last 2 days that we've seen video footage kind of roll in. So first up, fans at camp in general. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's been massive to get the fans back in there. We saw people chanting Aaron Rodgers' name again today. I think the tweet from Let's Talk Jets Radio had it perfectly. I don't want this honeymoon stage to end, or whatever they said. It was just perfect. I feel like nothing can go wrong. There's too much energy right now. Hopefully everything continues in that fashion. But it's good to see the fans back out there. Another beautiful day. We don't have rain. It's not overly hot. I'm a fan. Hawk laughing at my intro, saying Ryan pretended to do stuff. Don't call me out. Just sitting here watching you guys talk. Rob Anderson says, let's go. Drum saying, defense won the day, but plenty of positives for the offense today. Feels good to be a Jets fan. Hope this keeps up when it counts. Can't wait for Hard Knocks. Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. Rob says, as a Jets fan since '99, I see my first game live in Vegas this year. That's going to be fun. What's up, Peg and Artie? Good afternoon from hot as nuts, Central Florida. Yeah, this time of year, end of July to August is brutal down there. My parents live down in Florida. It's not fun during the summer. All right. So let's talk a little bit about stuff going on. Aaron Rodgers, again, looking sharp today. Had a nice long pass to Garrett Wilson, a good long one to Allen Lazard, as you can see right here. And look, the pads are not on. You can't get overly critical about stuff, but it's fun as fans to overhype stuff and get very excited. This feels like a much different team than what we've seen in the last few years. I feel like the reports out of camp usually when you're talking about Zach or Sam or Geno, all the quarterbacks going back to the last, 15 years. It's always been like trying to find the really nice plays in between some of the growing pains, or he recognized it at the line and he put a guy in motion, just did not connect. Like those sorts of comments and things like that you see. I feel like we're starting to see more of the, wow, this is actually happening now, and not the, we want it to happen or we want it to develop. That's what happens when you get like a 4-time MVP, Hall of Fame quarterback at the helm. Aaron Rodgers, the mindset with this team too. It feels like they believe. Salah's got this team believing. Rodgers got this team believing. Anytime there's like a screw up in camp too, Rodgers is chirping the guy that makes the mess up or calls him out. It seemed like they got a little frustrated earlier today. I did not include that in the loop of highlights and things going by. But Let's Talk Jets Radio had a few not everything's great moments where I think it was Max Mitchell might have hopped off sides on a play and looked like something got screwed up on a route. I don't know if it was Garrett Wilson or not, but it looked like it was going towards the near side, towards the fans. But overall, Aaron Rodgers holding guys accountable, giving people a reason to believe. Fans see it. Players see it. Coaches see it. This is different than years past. Different. Garrett Wilson. Talk about a young kid showing out on the offensive side of the ball. I can't wait till we get Breece back in the fold. But Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers starting to build some really strong chemistry. And just every move you see Garrett Wilson make. And the matchup between Garrett and Sauce, that's what I should have made this Garrett versus Sauce, because this was like one of the cooler training camp battles that we're going to see. And it's something that I want to focus in on during the Hard Knocks and see like what they're showing and the storylines that are going on behind the scenes there, because these guys are battling tooth and nail. You saw the one pass yesterday, Sauce swatted down. The very next play, Garrett Wilson comes out, catches a pass right in front of Sauce, cuts it back, and like puts a little crisscross applesauce on Sauce. So these guys, iron sharpens iron. You know all the sayings that people are going around saying. This team is different. They're fired up. I want to see it on the field. But then it scares me. I don't want to see it on the field because now we have, the threat of, those injuries and whatnot. But I do want to see them on the preseason games. Hall of Fame game. You're probably not going to see any starters play the Hall of Fame game. I don't want to see Garrett Wilson play in the Hall of Fame game. I don't want to see any of these players play in the Hall of Fame game. But some of the backup guys, some of the ones that are like maybe more in question on their status on the roster are more of the interesting little bits here. Garrett Wilson, though, very impressive on the offensive side. Jermaine Johnson on the defensive side. I don't know if changing his number to number 11 has just juiced him up, but I'm expecting a huge year out of Jermaine Johnson. I believe it was Richie that had one of the tweets that said the starting defensive line that we saw out there earlier today was Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson, Al Woods, and Quinnen Williams. I think that's a good first down type of edge presence, line presence. Jermaine Johnson's going to be something special. He was a player I was advocating for at number 10. The fact that we got him in the late 20s. Oh, man. There's going to be so many teams that are going to regret passing this guy up. I saw him involved in a little bit of a scrum yesterday, and it seems like he's fired up. He's ready for more opportunities. I'm excited to see where he can go. This whole D-line. Like, talk about depth. As much as, like, our secondary is super strong, and you can even go to our second strings, too, with, Eccles and Hall and all the secondary pieces. This defensive line, I think, is the part that I'm most excited about. Probably because we haven't had, like, a good defensive line in quite some time. We had a little bit of one, last year for the first time in a long while. But we've had some decent secondaries, especially, like, with Revis and Cromartie, 1.0 and then 2.0, a few years later. I'm looking forward to what this team, with an offense that's capable of scoring points, what everyone can do. Aaron drops in. What's up, dude? Thank you so much. He says, I'm so excited for JJ. What's a realistic expectation for him? Wish I was there at camp. Yeah, for JJ, I think he's going to be the closest thing to an every down, like, potential lineman that we could have, because he can rush off the edge and he can set the edge. I feel like we saw him more in, like, running downs last year, not so much in the pin your ears back kind of downs. I feel like we reserve that more for Carl Lawson and Bryce Huff. I'm hoping we get to see some more pass rush reps out of him. I'd have to look and see what his percentage of snaps was last year. I want to say it was in the 20s. It was like under 30%, I think, for Jermaine Johnson. So if you can get that up to like 45, maybe 50%, and you kind of take that next leap forward, and you have more opportunities maybe to rush the passer, I think you're going to see a better rotation. Because right now, you look at last year, when the Jets were down, we weren't really sending pass rushers. So we're kind of stuck in more run situations. And I think that just, knocked away some of the opportunities for our edge rushers. So what do I expect out of him? I want to see like 7 sacks, 8 sacks this year. I feel like that would be really cool to see in year 2. Zachary's saying, Garrett Wilson's a great player. Jerome, Ryan, how's it hanging? Low and to the left. Thank you very much for asking. Jared says, it's been brutal. Fitzmagic had a good year, but other than that, it's been since Chad. Yeah, I feel like Chad was the last time you could see a quarterback drop back and feel comfortable that there was going to be a completed pass. The last few years, it's like a coin flip. Every time you hold your breath and you just hope that our guy comes down with it. Not only are our guys coming down with it now, but the ball's actually hitting them where it should hit them, in the hands. It's not like they're contorting their body backwards trying to make a play. You're going to see some yak this year. That's where that yardage is going to come in. I want to talk a little bit about Zach Wilson. Just my observations from the last 2 days. It does feel like he's a little bit more comfortable. There's still plenty of things to work out, and it's, The mechanics side of things, some of the shorter passes that he was making yesterday and today, it felt like there was touch and accuracy on it where we hadn't seen it in the past. But that's also because we're not really worried about the pass rush. There's a few times the pass rush has gotten through the offensive line and we're seeing some plays made, but it would have either been, called a sack, or the quarterback would have been running a little bit more, and you're not seeing that pressure because they're not allowed to get hit. So there's a little bit of that with Zach. But he had a bomb. He probably had the play of the day, or one of the plays of the day today. Threw a monster pass to Brownlee. Brownlee went up and just, I think it was over Eccles, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and look at it. But good to see from Zach Wilson. Give him that mental reset. I really do think he's going to be quarterback 2 on this team. I think you're going to see him, and the Jets are going to hope that Rodgers plays every game. Based on his play history, I feel like it's a safer assumption. I feel like if you bring in a backup after having him as the number 2 overall pick, probably says more about his future here than anything else. I feel like you should probably let him have the opportunity to maybe see how these practices and the way Rodgers handles himself, how he may have developed a little bit. Yeah, because you're not going to expect him a whole lot of time. And if anything serious were to happen to Rodgers, it's probably season over at that point anyway, regardless of who you get in. But I'm happy to see Zach looking a little happier than where he was just last year. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. Jigaman says, love hearing the hype coming out about Conklin. Conklin looks really good. He's really big too, like in person. He's one of the more exciting options for this year. The tight ends I felt like were underutilized last year, and you'll see them both stand in and block because they still want to be a run-first team, I think. But there's going to be so many options for the New York Jets and how defenses are going to have to stop us. There's not one. If you had to pick one shining star, it's going to be Garrett Wilson. But if they start doubling Garrett Wilson, Lazard's going to get open. Hardman's going to get open. The tight ends are going to get open. You're going to run it down their throat with Brees. There's going to be so many different ways for this team to win. Conklin is absolutely going to be one of them. I think he's going to have a big second year. T. Willie says the A-Rod to G-Dub connection is going to be legendary. Every time I watch them connect and just see them scamper to the end zone, Garrett Wilson would be hard to catch in a phone booth. And I know this isn't live. You're not really hitting right now. But he's quick. Even if you're just getting that 15 yards and it's not a scamper to the end zone. It's better than in the flat and then having to make a move to get further. Like, we're actually pushing the ball down the field. There's going to be so much more room for Brees to run. Deshaun Williams says, I can't wait to see this Brownlee kid. Aaron seems to really like him a lot. He was the one that went up and got the pass that Zach threw, too. So he's going to be someone I think to keep an eye on in preseason. See how his chemistry develops. It does appear like he's a favorite of some of our quarterbacks. Freshwater says, Kuntz do anything. Want to feel like he's got a shot. I'm pretty sure the catch he had yesterday, he also fumbled. I think I could be wrong on that. It happened pretty quick. He's been impressive from like a size perspective, but he's definitely raw. I think there's a reason why he went in the 7th round. I'm hoping he makes the practice squad. I don't think he's going to make the active 53. I would be a little surprised just because of Conklin, Uzoma, and Ruckert. They're solidified as the top 3, and I'm not sure Kuntz is at the point where he would supplant Yeboah on specials. Not right now, at least. And we can, joke about all the, Kuntz spraying the crowd with water. Mitt Flair comes in, says Garrett Wilson and Sauce equals Goku and Vegeta. Wow, that's a cool matchup. Imagine having them with like the Super Saiyan hair and electricity zipping around them. That's kind of cool. Yeah, this is like a battle of juggernauts. Garrett and Sauce making life hell in practice. Love it. Yeah, and even on the other side, Reed is playing his mind out too. Michael Carter's having himself a good camp. The secondary, it feels like the defense is further along right now than the offense. That makes sense because virtually everyone on our defense returned from last year with the exception of Amos and, I guess Sherwood is now starting, but he's been in the defense. This team knows one another. The chemistry on the defensive side's there. The offensive side, they're working on it. Phil Adams, can the NFL bring week 1 games forward? I want to see football now. Dude, I'm chomping at the bit. But I also kind of want to go through like all of preseason, get excited and amped up. I just don't want to see any injuries. As long as we stay on the healthy kick, I'm good with it. Kelly says, I don't want to see the starters at all in the preseason. Yeah, I think the only ones I care to see, I want to see the offensive line play together because I feel like there's less likelihood of them getting an injury while playing against backups, and the chemistry they could have with Zach Wilson maybe under center. Like, let's say Rodgers is not starting. At least they're building that chemistry to try and help Zach along as well. So I would like to see the offensive line start. The skill position players I'm not as critical on. Defensive-wise, I guess more of the backups. I feel confident with all our starters already, so I don't want to see anyone, potentially go down. Ricky says, Ryan, would you agree Jermaine looks poised for a huge breakout year? Yes, 100%. I definitely think he's going to break out this season. I was really high on him last year, and we just had such a deep unit. This is how good teams are supposed to develop players. You're supposed to have guys in starting roles. You draft other players that can learn from those veteran players, and you learn good habits. You learn good work ethic. Jermaine Johnson, sitting behind Carl Lawson and John Franklin Myers for a year, I think was massive for the development of him. And then also just the motivation that he has. I think he almost feels a little left out from the hype from last year because of all the offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. Brees was going to be offensive rookie of the year. If he didn't get hurt, he could probably be comeback player of the year this year. But Jermaine Johnson in his own right, like home run of a pick. And I know we didn't see a ton of him last year, but I think you're going to be really happy with what you get out of him. He was super impressive at Florida or FSU. Deshaun says, how is Sherwood? Sherwood, from what I've been hearing, is really good. He's been filling in for that Quan role right now. And I think they're going to give him every opportunity to earn that and keep that spot. And then I think maybe if something were to happen or if they wanted to bring in depth later on, if someone else hasn't filled in like maybe a backup spot, maybe then they look at someone like Quan. I do like that he's kind of sitting out there still. Zachary said Ruckert had the miscommunication with Rodgers. That's what it was. Yeah, and Rodgers kind of got in his face about it. Good. Hold people accountable. I think we should do that. Ryan Jett says, I don't get why everyone is so pressed about Wilson being quarterback too, as if we didn't want him there last season. We'll be fine, and Zach showed last year that with a stacked offense and defense, he can win. Yeah, I feel like if you have your full complement of weapons and you have a better offensive line and you're another year in the system and you're learning behind Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to have a worse, year than the year before. Like I feel like he is poised to do better this season. I like Zach as quarterback too. It does not bother me. I feel like his ceiling is so much higher because of his mobility and his arm strength than anyone else. So if you can hone in the accuracy and make some good decisions, his long play to Brownlee did have me like holding my breath a little bit. I was like, I don't know if that's a good pass. I think it's a better catch than it is good pass. But I like him as a number 2. Drum says, how about Nick Bawden tearing it up out there? Yeah, I've heard a lot of different tweets, receptions. I feel like he's definitely going to be involved. Fullback-wise, I like it. I'm a fan. I think I want to see the running game of like, it sort of reminds me of Tony Richardson leading for, what was that, LT at the time? I think it was LT. Sean Green. Pound the rock, baby. But yeah, it sounds like he's going to be involved this year. Chris says, Rodgers and Garrett Wilson about to break all the Jets passing records. I definitely think they're going to destroy the touchdown and single-season yardage record this year. It's not even going to be close. I'd have to look up what the Jets' yardage for receptions would be. I feel like it's probably Brandon Marshall, but I don't know what that number is off the top of my head. But yeah, I do think it's going to be a pretty outstanding year for single-season Jet records. Jeffrey says, yeah, our players are great, but I'm excited to have an offensive coordinator who knows how to use our studs. Yeah, it was impressive to watch how they called different plays and how Rodgers knew to check it down. It's like, all right, well, these guys are starting to get aggressive. They're starting to, creep up on these screens or these passes in the flat. Now I'm going to pop them over the top. Rodgers knows how to play chess on this field. It's impressive. Hennessy asks, are we keeping 4 tight ends? Yeah, we definitely are. I think it's going to be the top 3 in Conklin, Ruckert, and Uzoma. And then I think it's going to be Yeboah as the special teams one. Aaron Rodgers' season can't be a blame game for the Jets. I don't know if I know what that means. Chris says, feel like the Jets will somehow still find a way to disappoint this season. Well, we're all hoping Super Bowl, right? So anything short of a Super Bowl will be slightly disappointing. Nah, keep your expectations within reason. I feel like we should absolutely feel as though we have the strength to make it to the Super Bowl. I feel like our team can go up against any team. We just got to prove it week by week. Go into week 1. Handle your business. Then go into week 2. Handle your business. Let's do it. Ferris Grim says, all fights at camp so far. Yeah, there was a few scrums. There was 3 yesterday. There was at least 1 today. Players getting chippy, getting fired up. Good. Get mad at one another. And then take it out on the field. Jeffrey says, I know it's only training camp, but can you see a difference from Mike LaFleur to Nathaniel Hackett? Yes, absolutely. I actually turned to my buddy yesterday and said that. LaFleur was very not vocal. He was very on the side, would make it would, I don't know. Nathaniel Hackett is definitely more fiery. More fiery? Is fiery. And he'll get in players' faces. I think that's what I notice. It's hard to tell how much of it is Nate and how much of it is Rodgers. I think as we see a little bit more and you see the backups implementing more of the offense, then we'll have a little bit clearer idea of the difference between the two. But man, it's been nice having the addition of Hackett so far. Haha, you dirty. Jerome Strax says Kuntz should wear 0. I like Amos as 0. And 81, as in 8-1, eat one, is pretty funny as well for Mr. Zachary. Ricky says, I think people are forgetting that once Bryce Huff will again be playing for a new contract. Look out for him. Yeah, he's in a contract year. I'm curious to see what happens with him. Do the Jets wind up trying to bring him back? I feel like Will McDonald is going to be a replacement. Maybe it's going to be more of a Carl Lawson versus Bryce Huff type thing. Bryce Huff's younger. What kind of contract is he going to be looking for? He's someone that could probably net you a pretty high comp pick if you allowed him to walk. But maybe he'd want to come back on a different deal. Next year's contract situation is going to be interesting. How does the Rodgers contract look this year moving into next year? And how will we be able to bring people back? Because if I had to have the option between, let's say Mekhi plays well or Bryce Huff, I'm going to let Huff walk and I'm going to try and bring Mekhi back, which is definitely a little concerning because of Mekhi's injury history, but because of strength of positional value, I feel like the offensive line would take priority for me. But I'm really looking forward to Huff. I think he's going to tear it up this year. Jets Forever says, start tip, we're hindering his development. McGovern is horrible. The real kind. So I think Tittman will eventually start. I don't think the offensive line combinations that we're seeing right now are necessarily indicative of who's starting and who's not. We don't see Dwayne Brown out there. You have Billy Turner in at left tackle. You have Max Mitchell in at right tackle. I don't see those two being the opening day starters. I could see Becton and Turner. I don't know. I think it's gonna be an honest competition. I really do. for those 2 tackle spots. I'm a little concerned with Tomlinson. I don't know what the game plan is if Laken Tomlinson is not very good this year. Hennessy says, the practice, everyone has been good. Everyone's looking good. Yeah, it's tough, right? They're not going to... I mean, everyone's trying to look better than the other player they're going against. So when players do look good, I mean, some other guys might look a little bad. But I think they're good practices. They feel crisp compared to last year. D. Santana says Zach, needs to prove it in live action, a real game. Yeah, I do think that Zach is going to need to show some of this in live action. Radimus Prime says, Ryan in chat. It's been a minute since I caught a live. Jets, Jets. Dude, I'm glad to have you in here. Haven't seen you in I haven't been doing a bunch of lives, so I'm actually getting back into the flow of things. So we should have a little bit more consistency here moving forward. HMNI Cadoza coming in says 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns for Brandon Marshall. So that's the mark to beat. I think Garrett Wilson can absolutely hit these marks. I think it's entirely possible. MJ says, y'all think Aaron Rodgers get 3,000 passing yards or more as Jets quarterback? Damn right, he's going to break 4,000. He's going to have a really good year. Corey comes in. Corey says, most of the time I feel like the only one still rooting for Zach to live up to the moniker, Baby Rodgers. No, I think fans want to see Zach do well. I think fans probably have lost faith in Zach to do that based on what we've seen from his progression so far. So this reset, you're hoping that it is just that. It just kind of changes his mentality. You saw all the skills were there, but can the brain catch up to the rest of the body? Is he able to diagnose stuff pre-snap so that way he can make faster decisions post-snap? I'm rooting for Zach. I was really high on him. I think it's a little sad to see where it's come to, but I'm going to enjoy Rodgers while he's here and then just hope for the best for Zach. Warren the People says, we need more wide receivers, not enough talent at wide receiver. I don't really agree. I think Garrett Wilson is rock solid at number 1. Number 2, you could argue Corey Davis might be better than Lazard, but I think Lazard with the connection with Rodgers right now will be number 2. But I feel comfortable with those top 3 right there. And then Hardman's going to be better than Berrios, I think. You got Cobb to back him up. And then you probably add someone like a Brownlee or someone that can play specials on the back end for wide receiver 6. So I don't know how much more I want to invest at wide receiver. And who would you bring in? Are you looking to trade for someone? I don't really want to give up any picks. I like where we're sitting right now. Should something happen from a health perspective and you want to make a trade in season, I'm probably a little more receptive to that. McFishin, will the Jets have more than 3 Pro Bowlers this year? Yes, absolutely. I think Garrett, Sauce, and Rodgers are a lock. And then you definitely get Quinnen. I'd be surprised if he didn't make it. I think CJ might get it on name recognition. I would like to see Reed get it. I think he's deserving of it. The Jets being in primetime games is going to help a lot of these players show out. AVT is probably going to earn it. Brees is probably going to earn it. The Jets could have a lot of Pro Bowlers because of the scheduling we have and because of where this team could go. You're going to see a lot of hype around this team. Not to mention having Hard Knocks. The league is going to, the fans of the league are going to know these players a lot better than years past. Mo says, did Jermaine Johnson change his number to number 11? Yes, he actually changed positions to linebacker, so that way he could pick number 11. His role is still going to be the same. He's not actually going to be played as a linebacker. But from a number perspective, in order to get that number, that's what he had to go to. King Blaze says, every team's goal should be to try and win a Super Bowl. If the owner is not pressed to win one, then you need a new owner. I think you have to be realistic. Everyone's goal is to win a Super Bowl, but how long that time frame isn't always 1 year. And I think that's okay to be talked about. Like the Texans, their young quarterback, the Panthers, their young quarterback, their goal is to win a Super Bowl, but that's not what their immediate goal is right now. The Jets, right now, yes, win a Super Bowl. We have the players, the team that's built around them with these young rookie contracts. We have the veteran quarterback in Rodgers. Now it's time to go win. Let's prove it. And Jets hops in, says, good afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well. Glad to have you here. D. Santana says, I don't care how many yards, just want the AFC East title, maybe a few playoff wins. Yes, I don't care about the records so much. I mean, it'll be nice to see like really good, competent offense, but I am looking forward to just having, wins. I do think we could win and should win the AFC East this year. Oh, Nightbot made an appearance. Glad to have you back. Rich says, what the hell is a Nightbot? Nightbot is my moderator that hops in, drops some little links throughout the show, and will also be the one that picks qualifiers when we do our t-shirt giveaways and whatnot. Oh, actually, Monday show comes back this Monday. So tomorrow, the Monday call-in show will be back. For those of you guys that want to tell me how you're feeling about this year, you get 3 minutes, and then you guys know the drill. You get ejected after 3 minutes. So we'll have that going on in the coming week. Dylan says, in your opinion, who is the second best offensive lineman on the team? So if we're saying AVT is 1, I think number 2 would have to be Dwayne Brown right now, until kind of proven otherwise. I do think Mekhi Becton, when fully healthy on the field, is, the second best lineman. It's just we haven't seen him on the field. You could argue he might be the best because he's playing a position that is maybe seen as more valuable. But even though AVT could play all those positions, so I stand corrected. AVT is the most valuable. But I would like to believe the second best offensive lineman will be Mekhi Becton with the health and everything. Right now, Dwayne Brown, but we're not even seeing him on the field. As far as what we've seen so far, I don't know. Billy Turner, maybe? The center, Tippmann or McGovern. It's like so far and away AVT as the top guy. Jeffrey says, can Tippmann play guard? If so, maybe keep McGovern at center and move Tippmann to left guard if LT stinks. Yeah, that was sort of where I was almost going in my head before. If we don't have a good left guard, and let's say you have Brown or Becton at left tackle, you got Tippmann or McGovern at center. McGovern can play guard too, so I don't mind McGovern being at left guard and Tippmann being center. So you almost have that or you do have that flip-flopped. And then you have AVT and whoever right tackle is. Jets Forever says, Lakin is getting paid too much. He's going to start regardless. He benefited from playing next to Trent Williams because Becton is better than Trent. Becton is a left tackle only. So I would agree with that. I do think Lakin benefited from playing next to an all-pro tackle when he was in San Francisco. I would hope that we play the best offensive lineman regardless of contract value, though. And Salah's been in that spot before. He's played Russell Wilson over Flynn at quarterback. Not he specifically, but he's been on teams that have kind of thrown out the contract value and played the best player. So I would like to see them do that. I'm just hoping Lakin is that player. Nick, Ryan, my man, heard Quinnen saying Jermaine Johnson going to blow up this year. If you look at his college stats, he always has a big year every other year. Think he's ready to make an impact. Yeah, I also think that it takes a year in the system. Like you saw Carl Lawson explode. I shouldn't say just Carl Lawson. The whole defensive line went off last year in comparison to the year prior. So if you kind of factor that in, next year should be a big year for Will McDonald. See how he performs. But I do think Jermaine Johnson is going to be something special this year. Zachary Burner said, the Garrett Wilson back of the end zone catch will be on Hard Knocks and people will know his greatness. Yeah, I heard about that. He scored a touchdown at the end of camp, and I haven't seen any footage of it. So it doesn't look like anyone captured that particular play. I'm sure the Jets will release a Twitter video about it, and we'll catch it later on today. But I would love to see the Hard Knocks angle of all these grabs and throws. Ricky New York says, McDonald, only a bruise, not really injured. Yeah, that's why we're not seeing much of him. Bleed Green, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love all the different teams, fans, and media that try to hate on us and downplay everything that we do. Oh, what a time to be a Jets fan. Yeah, we're going to be the same old Jets until we prove we're not the same old Jets. That's really our biggest issue. We have to start winning if we don't want to be treated like the redheaded stepchild or, this little brother in your own stadium kind of a thing. Prove it on the field. Kelvin says Conklin could definitely be a Pro Bowler. I think it's possible. Hank G says Return of the Chicken for the Monday show. Walter says, Hi, Ryan. Ain't it great to be talking about such good stuff instead of botching and complaining? Biatching. And complaining about how bad the team used to be. It is nice. It's been a long time coming. Dylan seems to agree with me. Dwayne Brown is the second best offensive lineman on the team right now. Becton has the upside for sure. Great show, man. Thank you, Dylan. MJ says Aaron Rodgers will have 38 to 42 passing touchdowns this season. That's kind of where I would put him as well. Figure one extra game than he's ever had, and ideally, he has a better connection with his wide receivers this year than he did last year, better defense than he had in Green Bay. Hopefully everything kind of plays into that. But yeah, I do think he's going to be somewhere in that realm. Oh, you guys are saying there is footage of the Garrett Wilson catch. Now I got to pull it up. Let's see it. See, I was checking before I came on, and it wasn't there. Oh, I see it. All right. Oh, man, that is a hell of a catch. Okay, let's see if I can throw this in here. We can watch it together. If you guys ever see anything like tweet-wise or video-wise, I got to figure out a way for you guys to alert me so I catch it. What am I doing? Clicking the wrong buttons, Ryan. All right, so I've got this. Let's see if it'll let me throw this up. There we go. So I'm just going to let that run on a loop so you guys can kind of see that. Put it down here. Bam! Garrett Wilson. You're filthy. Eat my heart out. Absolutely incredible. Hennessy says, why has no one ever told Buffalo fans to win a Super Bowl or shut up? Plenty of people say it. They've just been good during the regular season. So you only hear it at the very end of the season. And then everyone's like, oh, well, they should be good this year. Then it doesn't happen. James says, Ryan, who do you think will be most under the radar player for us? Ooh. Most under the radar player. Probably the tight ends. I feel like they're going to be sneaky good this year. Mecole Hardman's going to have a good year too. Let's do this. Let's move this over here. Boom. Keep that there. I think I can probably even shrink this down. Look at that. See? Rearranging things on the fly. King Blaze says, people talk trash about the Jets, but there are 12 teams in the NFL that have 0 Super Bowls. Jets Super Bowl was memorable with a guarantee. Yeah, 100%. Jets have arguably one of the most important Super Bowls in NFL history. It just happens to have been the third one, and it's been 50 years, and a whole lot of not great seasons from us. Like, look at everyone in our division. Our entire division has had, like, that quarterback. Like a Rodgers, like a Marino, or not a Rodgers, but like a Brady, a Marino, a Kelly, an Allen. So definitely some more to be desired. We'll do it, though. We're there. XD Gamer says, thoughts on what Sauce Gardner can do next season? I think he's going to be really impressive. People always bitch about his hand placement and everything, and I think it's just so weird because you have to redirect the player with your hand in order for it to be pass interference. So I don't get where fans are all up in arms about it. I think they're just more Miami fans that are butthurt about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle getting covered in Sauce. But I think Sauce can absolutely have a huge season. He had, 3 interceptions last year, or was it 4? And I think with a better defensive line, you could see just as many. They'll try to bait receivers to throw his direction. I hope. I wish he traveled around the field more. I don't like that Reed and Sauce are on separate sides of the field. Rich says Garrett is slippery like Barry Sanders. Yes. Puts his foot in the ground and just immediately changes direction. Jeffrey says, I haven't heard a lot about Bam Knight, only Brees and Carter. I've heard nothing about Bam Knight. Maybe they try to stash Bam. I think that's a possibility. He didn't have enough of a showing last season. It kind of depends. Like, how much exposure do these guys get in preseason and how good did they look? Because what you're seeing right now in training camp, like, you'll see more Bam Knight in the preseason than you will. I mean, you're not going to see Brees, obviously, in the preseason. I wonder how much Carter you're going to get. I think I'd be more apt to watch Izzy and Bam than Carter. I trust Carter to kind of like do his thing. And if he's going to be like the starting back, if Brees is held up at all, don't want to like put him in too much risk. Bleed Green says, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love all the different teams, fans. Oop, already said that one. Love it. Zachary Burner, with Becton down to 340, what is the biggest effect that I've seen or heard of from him? He is fast. He looks healthy. The fans were really excited too. I should have got a video of it yesterday, but at the end of camp, Becton came over and signed a bunch of stuff, and the fans were chanting his name like Big Ticket and Becton. And he seems happier. I think he's in a better mental headspace than he was in the past. Jets Forever says Sauce will win Defensive Player of the Year. I think it's possible. It's tough because that usually goes to an edge rusher, or like some sort of defensive lineman. But Sauce has the star power to be able to be that kind of recipient, I think. Dirty Old Jets fan says, at least 20 plus years of Brady and Belichick are done. Thank God that shit's done. Yeah, it's our turn. Let's put a thumping on them. Thoughts on people calling you guys the New York Packers? We're actually called the Jet Pack. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Oh, you guys got a Super Bowl quarterback, and you got his wide receiver, and you got his offensive coordinator. Yeah, what of it? Kick rocks. I don't care. They're wearing Jets uniforms. Corey says, didn't Zach have a touchdown throw today? He did. I don't think I have footage of that, or at least I didn't when I was going live. So I didn't have it all together at that point. King Blaze says defense is on fire. We'll get the ball back for the offense to get on fire, which will also cause the defense to also be more on fire. Right? Love it. King Blaze says top 7 offense, top 3 defense. I think that's entirely possible. Hennessy says 4 players out of 53 was former Packers. No, we've got more, right? I guess players, right? So you got Rodgers, Cobb, Lazard, Amos, Billy Turner. So it's at least 5. Plus Nathaniel Hackett. Hennessy says we got the formula from Tampa. Tampa got the formula from the Broncos. And then the Rams also got the formula. It all happens. Rookie contracts plus Hall of Fame quarterback, where there's value, is huge. Did you listen to Mark Sanchez on Herd? This is the second person that's brought this up to me, and I have not heard it, so I do have to see. I have not heard what the Herd was talking about with Sanchez. Jets Forever says, Brees, electric chant. I need it. As soon as he comes out of the tunnel for the first game, or as soon as he takes his first handoff, the crowd's going to go nuts. Bleed Green says, for some reason, I think Corey Davis will have a sneaky good season. I was saying this before. I think he's going to have a similar season to Lazard, but if you gave me Corey Davis for 17 games, I think he's going to have a better season than Lazard. This guy was taken in the top 5 for a reason. He's never had a good quarterback. I'm excited. As long as he stays healthy, we're in for a good season from him. Zachary says, what is the floor and ceiling you see for the offense and defense? Ceiling, I mean, with the stars we have and a potentially MVP caliber Aaron Rodgers, if he gets back to 2 years ago's form, I mean, the ceiling could be number 1. I think the floor for the offense, hopefully, is like top 12. I think defense, I think you're definitely, I would like to see the defense as the floor, top 10. Anything lower than top half for either one of the units, I think would be sad. Would be a mistake. Not a mistake, but would be underperforming. Revolution says, Ryan, do you think we need another safety? I feel like we need one more after the Clark injury. So it seems like they really like Tony Adams. So depending on how he performs and if everyone stays healthy, I do want to see how Ashton Davis plays, if there's been any growth. I'm not really expecting much. I think he could be a camp cut. You got Whitehead back there. He's going to be starting. Amos is going to be starting, I think. I don't know. I would add a safety, but I would probably wait till camp cuts and see who performs well throughout training camp and preseason from other teams. Whew. Hennessy says, 9/11, I'll be there with Richie. I'm going to the game. Actually, I should tell Richie that I'm going because I was not originally, when we talked about it over the summer, or still over the summer, like maybe a month ago. And I told him I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make that game. But I'll be there. Should be fun. All right. So let's see. That puts us at about 50 minutes. I think that's going to be about it for me. Guys, lots of fun stuff going on at camp. The fans being back are huge. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson connection, the chemistry's there. Jermaine Johnson looks like he's going to ball out this season. I really think it's coming. We're going to have a really, really strong team. And, dude, Hard Knocks, One Jets Drive, we're like a week away. Well, One Jets Drive is probably still coming out. But, like, Hard Knocks is the 8th. So I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. I want to run through a brick wall. Boys and girls, I'll be back here every day after training camp with some updates. Depending on time, it might be later at night if I'm, got baby stuff going on and whatnot. But it's been fun. Thank you so much for hanging out and tuning in for this brief recap. Let me know the rest of your comments down below. And as always, go Jets.